Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, in the course of Physical Pharmacy 310, today we will discuss dispersions or colloids. So let's start with the topic of dispersions. Dispersed systems. First, let us understand that what is dispersed system. Dispersed systems consist of particulate matter known as the dispersed phase. Means by dispersion, the word dispersion simply means that you are going to distribute one component in another component. So dispersed systems consist of particulate matter, means there will be a material which will be dissolved or suspended in another medium. Dispersed systems consist of particulate matter known as the dispersed phase, distributed throughout a continuous or dispersion medium. Means in dispersed system there are two phases, that one phase will be distributed in another phase. This type of system is called dispersed system. The dispersed material may range in size from particles of atomic and molecular dimensions to particles whose size is measured in millimeters. So simply we can say that what do we mean by dispersion? We have discussed in previous classes. We have studied detailed topic on the solution. So solutions are molecular dispersion, means one component is completely dissolved in another component. This type of system is called solution. Solution is a molecular dispersion. And for dispersed system, we require two medium, one which will be distributed in the other medium. The medium which is distributed is called dispersed phase, and the second medium in which the dispersed phase is distributed is called dispersion medium. As far as the size of the particles is concerned, so it ranges from particles of atomic and molecular dimensions to particles whose size is measured in millimeters, means from nanoparticles to particles in millimeters. Let's proceed further. Dispersed systems. There are three types of dispersed systems encountered in pharmaceutical sciences. Based on the size of the dispersed phase, three types of dispersed systems are generally considered on the basis of the size of the dispersed phase, the phase which is distributed in a continuous medium or dispersion medium. Molecular dispersions, colloidal dispersions, and coarse dispersions. There are three types of dispersions which we encountered in pharmaceutical sciences, and these are molecular dispersions, colloidal dispersions, and coarse dispersions. So let's discuss one by one. Molecular dispersion. Molecular dispersions are called solutions, homogeneous in character and form true solutions. Molecular dispersions are homogeneous in character and form true solutions. Particle size is less than 1 nanometer of the dispersed phase. So you can see that particle size is very small, less than 1 nanometer. You cannot see it. It cannot be visible. Characteristics of the system, means what are the features of molecular dispersion, or which we also call it solutions. Invisible, the dispersed phase is invisible in electron microscope, means the components which you have dissolved in another component. Let's take an example of solute and solvent. If you dissolve solute in a solvent, the solute molecule will go in a size range of nanoparticles that will be less than 1 nanometer. So in this type of system or solution, homogeneous solution, the the particles which are dissolved is invisible in electron microscope, pass through ultrafilter and semi-permeable membrane, undergo rapid diffusion. These are the properties of the solution. Means in solution you cannot look at the position of the particles. Particles are not visible because they are less than 1 nanometer in size. Examples are oxygen molecules, ordinary ions, glucose. Though all the homogeneous solutions are the examples of molecular dispersions. Dispersions may also be in the form of ionic dispersion. If you dissolve NaCl, so sodium and chloride both will dissociate into ions, so molecular dispersion, or it may also be as a ionic dispersion. So simply by molecular dispersion, we means that the particle size is less than 1 nanometer. Let's proceed further. The second one is colloidal dispersion. In colloidal dispersion, particle size range from 1 nanometer to zero point 0.5 micrometer of the dispersed phase. We are talking about the particle size of the dispersed phase, not the dispersion medium. Characteristics of the system. What are the characteristics of the colloidal system dispersion or colloidal system? Not resolved by ordinary microscope. You cannot see the particles through an ordinary microscope, although may be detected under electra microscope, or you can say electron microscope. Visible in electron microscope, the particles, the colloidal particles having a size range from 1 nanometer to zero point 0.5 nanometer pass through filter paper, do not pass semi-permeable membrane, and they diffuse very slowly. These are the characteristics of the colloidal system. Examples are colloidal silver solutions, natural and synthetic polymers, cheese, butter, jelly, paint, milk, shaving cream. All these are the examples of colloidal dispersion in which one particle, that is the particles, are distributed in a second medium which is called continuous medium, and the particles are called the dispersed phase. So in colloidal dispersion, particle size range from 1 nanometer to zero point 0.5 micrometer. These are the characteristics of colloidal dispersions. Let's proceed further. Coarse dispersions. Coarse dispersions. In coarse dispersion, particle size of coarse dispersion is greater than zero point 0.5 micrometer. So if you have a solution or dispersion and in which the solute molecules have a particle size greater than zero point 0.5 micrometer, this will be called as a coarse dispersion. And what are the characteristics of coarse dispersion? Visible under microscope. You can see it through a microscope. The dissolved particles do not pass through the normal filter paper, do not dilate through semi-permeable membrane, and do not diffuse. Examples are grains of sand. Most pharmaceuticals, emulsions, and suspensions are the example of coarse dispersion. Red blood cells also have a greater size, therefore they are also called as a coarse dispersion in the plasma of the blood. So up till now we have discussed that what is dispersed system. Dispersed system means that there are two phases. One is distributed throughout the other phase. The phase which is distributed is called dispersed phase, and in which the dispersed phase is distributed is called dispersion medium or continuous phase. Dispersed systems are molecular, colloidal, and coarse dispersion. We have discussed it, and this classification is actually based on the particle size. And if the particle size is less than 1 nanometer, we called it molecular dispersions, like true solutions. Colloidal dispersions, particle size range from 1 nanometer to 0.5 micrometer. And then coarse dispersion, particle size of the coarse dispersion is greater than 0.5 micrometer. Emulsions and suspensions are very important dosage forms that we encountered in pharmaceutical sciences. So these are the examples of coarse dispersion. Let's proceed further. Let's discuss an example of complex dispersed system. Dispersions, as we have discussed, consist of at least one internal phase that is dispersed in a dispersion medium. Sometimes putting these systems into one of the three categories is a bit tricky. So we will have to start by looking at an example of a complex dispersed system that we are all very familiar with, like blood. Blood is a specialized fluid that delivers vital substances such as oxygen and nutrients to various cells and tissues in the body. The dispersion medium in blood is plasma because blood is a mixture of components. There are a lot of components in the blood like blood cells, plasma proteins, ions, etc. So blood is a complex dispersed system in which the dispersion medium is plasma, which is mostly water. That is approximately 90% or so is water. Blood is composed of more than one dispersed phase because there are different substances which are either completely dissolved or not completely dissolved, means suspension or emulsion in emulsion forms are present. Nutrients such as peptides, proteins, and glucose are dissolved in plasma, forming a molecular dispersion or true solution. There are certain substances like peptides, proteins, and glucose that are completely soluble in the plasma or you can say in the blood. Therefore, they form molecular dispersion or which is also called true solution. Oxygen is however carried to cells and tissue by red blood cells. Given the size of the red blood cell is approximately 6 micrometer, means it is greater than 0.5 micrometer. So therefore, we can say that red blood cells are also a coarse dispersion, an example of coarse dispersion. So in blood, there is a molecular dispersion, there is a coarse dispersion. White blood cells such as leukocytes and platelets are other major cell types present in the blood. The last major component of the blood is serum albumin, means plasma protein. Serum albumin forms a true solution in water. However, the size of the individual serum albumin particle in solution is greater than 1 nanometer, which puts them into the colloidal dispersion group. As you can now see, blood is a complex bodily fluid that is an example of the three types of dispersed systems that you will encounter in the pharmaceutical sciences. So simply we can say that if you want to see the best examples of the complex dispersed system, that is the blood in which all the three types of the dispersed systems are present, and we usually encountered with all these three types in pharmaceutical sciences. Now, types of colloidal systems. In this chapter, we will discuss colloidal system, colloidal dispersions. In previous sections, we have studied the solutions. We have done a detailed studies on the topic of solutions, which are molecular dispersion. Now, we will discuss in this chapter types of colloidal systems. All kinds of dispersed phases might form colloids in all possible kinds of media except for a gas-gas combination. Because gas in gas combination will always form a solution, therefore colloidal system will not form. Because all gases mix uniformly at the molecular level, gases only form solution with each other. They cannot form colloidal system. These are the examples of the colloidal dispersions, or you can say colloidal systems: solid, dispersion medium, solid, dispersed phase, solid, colloidal type, solid solution, opals, spirals. These are the example. If the dispersion medium is solid and dispersed phase is liquid, that is solid emulsion. Cheese and butter are the example of colloidal dispersion. Smoke, clouds, you can see milk, mayonnaise. These are the marshmallows. These are the examples of common example of colloidal system. However, colloidal system are best classified into three groups. That is lyophilic, lyophobic, and association colloids. On the basis of the interaction of the particles, molecules or ions of the dispersed phase with the molecules of the dispersion medium. Means if you want to classify in pharmaceutical sciences, basically there are three types of colloidal systems, and this classification is based on the interaction of the both the phases with one another. Like what is the interaction of the dispersed phase with the dispersion medium? If there is an interaction, if there is no interaction, we will discuss it in the coming slides. Let's proceed further. Let's start with the first one, lyophilic colloids. Lyophilic colloids actually systems containing colloidal particles that interact to an appreciable extent with the dispersion medium are referred to as lyophilic, means solvent-loving colloids, in which the colloid particles have affinity for interaction with the dispersion medium. Owing to their affinity for the dispersion medium, such materials form colloidal dispersions or solutions with relative ease. Means there is an interaction between the solute and solvent, or you can say that between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. Therefore, they easily intermix with one another or disperse with one another and form dispersions of colloidal nature. Thus, lyophilic colloidal solutions are usually obtained simply by dissolving the material in the solvent being used. For example, the dissolution of acacia or gelatin in water or celluloid in amyl acetate leads to the formation of solution. So, lyophilic means solvent loving. If you have dispersion medium and the dispersed phase both have an affinity for one another, this will be called as lyophilic colloids. There are various properties of this class of colloids, and these are due to the attraction between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium, which leads to solvation. What is solvation? Solvation is the attachment of solvent molecules to the molecules of the dispersed phase, or we can simply say that the attachment of solvent molecules to the molecules of the molecules of the solute. This is called solvation. And if water is used as a solvent, then this term is called as hydration. In case of hydrophilic colloids, in which water is the dispersion medium, this is termed as hydration. Most lyophilic colloids are organic molecules. For example, gelatin, acacia, insulin, albumin, rubber, and polystyrene. Of these, the first four, like gelatin, acacia, insulin, and albumin, are colloids in aqueous dispersion media. Means they are soluble in water. In aqueous, they will form hydrophilic solutions. Which one? Like gelatin, acacia, insulin, albumin. And the rubber and polystyrene form lyophilic colloids in non-aqueous organic solvents. These materials accordingly are referred to as lipophilic colloids. These examples illustrate the important point that the term lyophilic has meaning only when applied to the material dispersed in a specific dispersion medium. A material that forms lyophilic colloidal system in one liquid, like water, may not do so in another, like benzene. Let's proceed further. The second class of colloids is lyophobic colloids and is composed of materials that have little attraction or no attraction for the dispersion medium. These are lyophobic, solvent hating. Lyophobic means solvent hating. The first one was lyophilic, solvent loving. The second one is solvent hating colloids. Means there is no interaction between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. Colloids, predictably, their properties differ from those of the lyophilic colloids. This is primarily due to the absence of solvent sheath around the particle. In hydrophilic colloids, the particle is surrounded by a water molecule, so there is a protective sheet around the water molecule. While in lyophobic colloids, these are not interacted or attracted by the solvent molecules or by the dispersion medium, so there will be no protective sheet around the particles. Therefore, there will be difference in the properties of both. Lyophobic colloids are generally composed of inorganic particles dispersed in water. Examples of such materials are gold, silver, sulfur, arsenious sulfide, and silver iodide. These are the examples of lyophobic colloids. Now, preparation of lyophobic colloids. In contrast to lyophilic colloids, it is necessary to use special method to prepare lyophobic colloids because there is no interaction between or there is no affinity of for the dispersed phase. because if there will be an affinity between the dispersion medium and the dispersed phase, so they will easily form a colloidal system. But in this case, in lyophobic colloids, there is no affinity between the solute and solvent molecule, so you can say that between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. These are dispersion methods in which coarse particles are reduced in size. Dispersion, students, simply means distribution throughout a system, uniform distribution, you can say. Second method is condensation method. In dispersion method, coarse particles are reduced in size and then they are dispersed. Condensation method, in which materials of subcolloidal dimensions are caused to aggregate into particles within the colloidal size range. Means particles, through condensation method, the particles are in lower size than the colloidal particles. Colloidal particles, as we have classified on the basis of the size of the particles, the in condensation method, particles lower in size than the colloidal particles are aggregate with one another to form a particles in the colloidal size range. These are the methods for the preparation of lyophobic colloids. Dispersion can be achieved by the use of high intensity ultrasonic generators operating at frequencies in excess of 20,000 cycles per second. This is such a high frequency. If you will use high intensity ultrasonic generators operating at frequencies in excess of 20,000 cycles per second, the dispersion will be achieved. A second dispersion method involves the production of an electric arc within a liquid that results to the intense production of heat generated by the electric arc. Some of the metal of the electrode is dispersed as a vapor which condenses to form colloidal particles. These are the methods for the dispersion. Others are like milling and grinding process can be used, although their efficiency is low. So-called colloid mills, in which the material is shared between two rapidly rotating plates set close together. We can also use colloidal mills for the particle size reduction to form a colloidal system. The required conditions for formation of lyophobic colloids by condensation or aggregation involve a high degree of initial supersaturation followed by the formation of and growth of nuclei. So students, this required that if you are going to form a lyophobic colloid, first of all you will have to prepare a saturated solution. After that you will be able to prepare a lyophobic colloids. Let's proceed further. The third type is association colloids. Association colloids we have discussed in physical classes. These are actually the surfactants. If you dissolve surfactants, it will form an association colloids. They are amphiphilic colloids, consist of amphiphiles, surface active agents or monomers, are characterized by having two distinct regions of opposing solution affinities with the same molecule or ions. We have discussed this topic in detail, that what are surfactants and how they interact with one another. Next is subcolloidal particles. When present in liquid medium at low concentration, the amphiphiles exist separately, are of such a size as to be subcolloidal. Means surfactants exist in liquid medium in a size range smaller than the colloidal particles. These particles then are called as subcolloidal particles. And then these particles aggregate with one another to form a colloidal system. Now students, let's discuss that what are the properties of the colloid. First of all, we will discuss the optical property. By optical property, we mean that what will be the result of the interaction between the colloid and the light. The first one is Tyndall effect, that is Faraday-Tyndall effect. When a strong beam of light is passed through a colloidal solution, a visible cone resulting from the scattering of light by the colloidal particles is formed. This is Faraday-Tyndall effect. Because colloidal particles are very small, you can say that these are like nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles are not visible. When we pass light through the solution, the light form a cone-like structure, and this effect is called Tyndall effect. An intense light beam is passed through a solution against a dark background at right angle to the plane of observation, and although the particle cannot be seen directly, the bright spots corresponding to particles can be observed and counted. So this is the method for the the measurement of the particle size in a colloidal system. We can analyze this data and then we can find out the size of the particles from the Faraday-Tyndall effect. Next optical property, the electron microscope. Electron microscope is capable of building pictures of the actual particle, even those approaching the molecular dimension. Is now widely used to observe the size, shape, and structure of the colloidal particle. Simple electron microscope can be used for the analysis or for the understanding of the colloidal system. Next property is light scattering property. This property depends on the Faraday-Tyndall effect and is widely used for the determination of molecular weight of colloids. It can also be used to obtain information on the shape and size of the particles. Through scattering of light, we can calculate all these types of information regarding the colloidal system, like we can find out the molecular weight, what is the shape of the particle, what is the size range of the particles. So these optical properties are used to properly understand the colloidal system, because colloidal systems are very complex systems, and when we reduce the sorry student, when we reduce the particle size, then the behavior changes. So on nanoscales, particles behave differently. So through the study of optical properties, we can understand the different aspects of the colloids. Next one is optical properties of colloids. Particle size. Above, as we have discussed all the properties like the Faraday-Tyndall effect, through electron microscope, light scattering, all these can be used to determine the particle size of the colloidal system. Let's proceed further. Now students, kinetic properties of colloids. What are the kinetic properties of colloids? Properties grouped under these headings are system that relate to motion of the particle. By kinetic we mean motion. If colloidal particles will be in motion, then what will be their properties and what we will get from those properties? Simply grouped under this heading are several properties of colloidal systems that relate to motion of particles with respect to the dispersion medium. The motion may be thermally, like Brownian movement, diffusion, osmosis, gravitationally induced sedimentation, or applied externally, force like viscosity. So we will discuss these properties. These are the kinetic properties of colloids. First one is Brownian motion. Brownian motion describes the random movement of colloidal particles. The erratic or zigzag or random motion which may be observed with particles as large as about 5 micrometer was explained as a resulting from the bombardment of the particles by the molecules of the dispersion medium. If a particle is greater than 5 micrometer and this particle is present in a solution, or the solvent molecule will continuously bombard on it and it will be in a zigzag motion. This motion is called as Brownian motion. The motion of the molecules cannot be observed, of course, because the molecules are too small to see. The velocity of the particles increase with decreasing particle size, increasing the viscosity of the medium, which may be accomplished by the addition of glycerin or similar agent, decreases and finally stops the Brownian motion. Simply we can say that if we will reduce the particle size, by the reduction of particle size, Brownian motion will increase. But by increasing the viscosity of the system, so we will create resistance for the particles to flow. Therefore, Brownian motion will be decreased by increasing the viscosity, and Brownian motion will be increased by decreasing the particle size. Let's proceed further. The next kinetic property is diffusion. Particles diffuse spontaneously. By spontaneously, we means that we are not serving any energy for the system. The system is capable of doing work by itself. Particle diffuse from high region of concentration to one of lower concentration region, or you have studied diffusion, that the movement of particles from high concentration to low concentration, this is called diffusion. Diffusion is the direct result of Brownian movement, means diffusion occurs due to the Brownian movement. According to Fick's first law, the amount, that is dq, of substance diffusing in time, dt, across a plane area, that is S, is directly proportional to the change of concentration dc with distance traveled dx. Fick's law is written as dq is equal to minus ds dc upon dx multiplied by dt. D is the diffusion coefficient, S is the area, dc and dx, these are the amount of, D is the diffusion coefficient. The amount of material diffusing per unit time across a unit area is dc upon dx, called the concentration gradient. Means diffusion is due to the concentration gradient. Concentration is higher at one side and lower in another side, so the molecules will move from higher to lower side. D thus has the dimension of area. If the gradient is unity, then the whole process will just depends on the area of the membrane through which the diffusion is in progress. Let's proceed further. Osmotic pressure. This is also a kinetic property. We have discussed these properties in solution. Osmotic pressure pi of a dilute colloidal solution is described by Van 't Hoff equation. We have discussed these equations. Pi is equal to CRT, where C is the concentration of the solute. This equation can also be used to calculate the molecular weight of the colloid in dilute solution. Next kinetic property is sedimentation. Student, sedimentation means settling down of the particles. If you have a system like you have dissolved something in a dispersion medium, due to the instability of the system, the particles will settle down. This is called sedimentation. The settling down of the particle is called sedimentation. So the rate of sedimentation or the velocity of the particles with which the particles will settle down is understood by the Stokes law, which states that velocity of the particle is equal to 2r square rho minus rho naught g upon 9 and viscosity eta of the system. Let's understand it, that what this equation means. The velocity v of the sedimentation of spherical particles having a density d or rho in a medium of density rho naught and viscosity n naught is given by Stokes law, where r is the radius of the sphere, or you can say particle, rho is the density of the particles, rho naught is the density of the medium, g is the gravitational acceleration, and viscosity of the eta is the viscosity of the medium. We can see that by increasing the viscosity, velocity will be decreased. By increasing the diameter of the particles, we will increase the velocity, because with increase in the diameter or with increase in the radius of the sphere, it will settle down with ease. So this is the equation for the sedimentation in a colloidal system. Let's proceed further. If the particles are subjected only to the force of gravity, then the lower size limit of particles obeying Stokes equation is about 0.5 micrometer. This is because Brownian movement becomes significant and tends to offset sedimentation due to gravity and promotes mixing instead. Brownian movements will not allow the process of sedimentation because it is a zigzag movement. The molecules will move and they will not aggregate with one another and will not settle down in the system. Consequently, a stronger force must be applied to bring about the sedimentation of colloidal particles in a quantitative and measurable manner. This is accomplished by the use of the ultracentrifuge developed by Sedgwick in 1925, which can produce a force 1 million times that of the gravity. Means very greater force will be required to bring these colloidal particles together to form a sediment. So that sediment will then settle down in the system. The next is viscosity. Viscosity is an expression of the resistance to flow of a system under an applied stress. More viscous a liquid is, the greater is the applied force required to make it flow at a particular rate. Greater viscosity, if the viscosity is greater, there will be low flow, means there will be high resistance to flow. The shape of the particles of the dispersed phase affect the viscosity of the colloidal dispersion. Spherocolloid form dispersion of relatively low viscosity, whereas linear particle system is more viscous. So viscosity also depends on the shape of the particles. If the particles are spherical, then there will be less contact between the particles and they will move easily. And if the particles are linear, then this system will be more viscous and there will be greater resistance to flow. The relationship of shape and viscosity reflect the degree of solvation of particles. In lyophilic colloids, viscosity increase, while lyophobic colloids do not have much effect on the viscosity of the system. Let's proceed further. Now students, up till now we have discussed the optical properties and then we have discussed the kinetic properties, and now the third type is electrical properties of the colloids. What do we mean by electrical properties? These properties of colloid that depends on or are affected by the presence of a charge on the surface of particles are discussed under this heading. Electrokinetic phenomena. The movement of charged surface with respect to an adjacent liquid phase is the basic principle underlying four electrokinetic phenomena. We will discuss it one by one. The first one is electrophoresis. Electrophoresis is simply the movement of charged particles through a liquid under the influence of an applied potential difference of an applied electric field. An electrophoresis cell is fitted with two electrodes, anode and cathode. When the potential is applied across the electrode, the particles migrate to oppositely charged electrodes. The rate of particle migration is observed by the means of ultramicroscope and is the function of the charge on the particles. Means the movement of particles, that how fast or how slow they will move in the system, that will be the function of the charge. If the amount of the charge is greater, if the amount of the charge is lower, it will be depends on the amount of the charge on the surface of the particles. Electrophoresis is, students, simply a method of separations of colloidals. We can separate colloidal particles from the system. Simply, what is the main idea about of the electrophoresis? It involves the movement of charged particles through a liquid. Means liquid is in a stationary state and the charged particle is moving through a liquid. This phenomena is called electrophoresis. pH has great influence on the phenomena of electrophoresis. Like pH plays a very important role in electrophoresis. For example, protein. The carboxylic acid and amino groups of protein behave differently in different pH. In alkaline pH, protein behaves as anion, negatively charged. In acidic, it behaves as a cation, positively charged. And it has the property of both acidic and basic. At an intermediate pH or balanced pH, proteins appears as a neutral, that is no charge on the protein. Such ions are known as Witten ions, leading to precipitation of protein. This point at which precipitation occurs is called isoelectric point. Means in electrophoresis, if we approach an isoelectric point, we can separate one component from the other, and these components are present in colloidal dimension. Each protein has its specific isoelectric point. Isoelectric point in case of electrophoresis is the point at which precipitation of protein occurs. Only a particular protein precipitate a particular isoelectric point. So this property is utilized to purify proteins and proteins like compounds. Next is electroosmosis. Electroosmosis is essentially the opposite of electrophoresis. In electrophoresis, the application of potential or electric field or electric charge causes a charged particle to move relative to the liquid, which is stationary. Means in electrophoresis, a charged particle is moving in a stationary liquid. But what is electroosmosis? In electroosmosis, if the solid is rendered immobile, if we restrict the solid particles, the solid particle is not moving. How we can restrict it? By forming a capillary or making the particles into porous plug or porous membrane. Fix the particles in porous membrane. However, the liquid now moves relative to the charged surface. This is electroosmosis, so called because liquid moves through a membrane across which a potential is applied. So there is a basic difference between electrophoresis and electroosmosis. In electrophoresis, charged particle moves and the liquid remains stationary. While in electroosmosis, the liquid moves and the charged particles remain stationary. So these are the electric properties of the colloidal system. These are the techniques which you can use to separate the particles from one another, colloidal particles from the rest of the particles. Sedimentation potential. The potential difference between top and bottom due to the sedimentation under the influence of gravity. This is called sedimentation potential, means how much potential is there in a system that the particles will aggregate and will settle down. As it occurs in suspension, so therefore the level of suspension clearly mentioned on it that please shake well before use, because the particles are in colloidal dimension. Suspension is an example of colloids. So what happens in the suspension? The particles aggregate with one another and then they settle down. We will discuss it in a portion of the suspension. Sedimentation potential occurs when dispersed particles move under the influence of either gravity or centrifugation in a medium. This motion disrupts the equilibrium symmetry of the system and induces polarity and electric field due to the movement of particles. This electric field is called sedimentation potential. Opposite of electrophoresis is separation process. Now students, the last one is streaming potential. The streaming potential differ from electroosmosis is that forcing a liquid to flow through a plug or bed of particles creates the potential. Means there is a stationary bed of particles are embedded in a sheet or there is a membrane and you want to flow a fluid through that membrane. This is called streaming potential. So students, in today's lecture we have discussed that what are colloids, what are dispersions, how many types of dispersions are there, then what are colloid. We have discussed in detail the colloidal system, lyophilic, lyophobic, association colloids. Then we have discussed the properties, optical properties, then kinetic properties, then electrical properties of the colloids. In the next lecture students, inshallah, we will discuss about the stability and application of colloids in the pharmacy. Thank you very much.